What is up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today it is time to have a look at those final 1 week punts I think you should be taking in your team ahead of the final game week before the World Cup. What is up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today it is my final transfer targets video for you to be picking in your teams as those 1 week punts before we go into the World Cup. Of course, over the World Cup we get unlimited transfers, so any player you bring into your team this week you do not have to own in your team for any further game weeks after game week 16. So these really are the pinnacle of 1 week punts. You can bring in players that you don't care about owning long term that you can just own for 1 week. We're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. Thank you all again for 38,000 subscribers. Massive support recently, and it will continue with World Cup videos. I do hope anyone playing World Cup Fantasy, I will be uploading continuously throughout that tournament and that game as well. Before we get into my 7 transfer targets, where we're going to cover a goalkeeper, 2 defenders, a cheap and an expensive, 2 midfielders, again cheap and expensive, and 2 forwards, finally a cheap and expensive. The 8 players that I'm not going to cover that I do still think you should be buying into your team. So I'm not going to create a video where I say I think you should be owning Haaland for this week, I think you should be owning Salah. These are the players that are already highly owned, but if you don't own them, I would probably prioritize them over the 7 players we're going to be talking about in this video. So there are 3 Manchester City options. We've got Cancelo, Haaland, and Kevin De Bruyne. If you did sell Haaland, for example, going into game week 15 when he was benched, then I would potentially be looking at the way back to get him because he's going to be massively captained this week. Cancelo as well, if you're looking for a defender, probably the #1 defender I'd be buying this week, Cancelo, and that premium midfielder in Kevin De Bruyne along with Mo Salah. Up front as well, I won't talk about Harry Kane, but Leeds at home is a fantastic fixture for him. Then finally, we have a lot of the popular Arsenal attackers. Martinelli, Saka, and Gabriel Jesus, all fantastic options that you should be bringing into your team. I'm looking at bringing Gabriel Jesus into my team because I can't afford the premium option up front that we're going to be talking about in this video. So these are my top 8. We're not going to go through all of these because they're so highly talked about, they're so highly owned already. But if you don't own them and you're considering buying them, it's not that I don't like them, it's just that I don't want to continuously talk about highly owned assets that everyone already owns. So the goalkeeper, if you are looking potentially to move Pope on, who has Chelsea at home, or other goalkeepers that you might be wanting to move on, I do think Alisson at Liverpool is the one that I would go for. A lot of us don't have triple Liverpool, which has been the issue with owning Alisson in previous seasons, is you don't want him because of the amount of other Liverpool assets you might have in your team. For me, even at 5.4 million as a 1 week punt at home to Southampton, he is the one I would want to go for. He's been pretty good for save points and bonus points this season, given how Liverpool have not functioned properly, and he is a goalkeeper that has picked up an assist so far this season. He is only predicted to score 4.4 points in game week 16, so he's not worth a -4. But if you are using a 1 free transfer, you don't have anywhere to use it elsewhere in your squad. Southampton at home, a team that are really struggling at the moment, have of course just sacked their manager. I don't expect them to score in this fixture. If you are looking defensively and in goal, I would go for this goalkeeper. Moving into defence, the cheap option we've gone with is Ben White of Arsenal. 13 starts for him so far this season, 58 points, 4.5 points per start, 2 assists, and he is just 8.7% selected and just 4.6 million. A very cheap option with a great fixture away at Wolves this week. Now, Wolves have scored a couple of goals in their most recent matches, but I do think Arsenal's defensive form, and I think they have a good chance of a clean sheet in this one. Predicted to score 3.3 points in the final one. The attacking threat he combines with that clean sheet potential. If you have the money in the bank to potentially go up for the likes of Saliba or Gabriel, then absolutely go for it. I do think they're probably better options for a 1 week punt, but a lot of you will be looking for a very cheap option, and that cheaper price of Ben White I think is a fantastic option. Again, if you have the money spare, go for one of the more expensive options, but an Arsenal defender nonetheless is a great 1 week punt. The more premium defender is Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I can already see you in the comment sections laughing away that I'm recommending bringing in Trent. It is for a 1 week punt only, and I do still think, as I spoke about with Alisson, the Liverpool defenders are some of the best you could be buying this week. He's predicted to score more points than any other defender this week. Of course, all the stats, predicted points, comes from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Use the link in the description if you do want to get a discount in signing up. Southampton at home, again, a team, as I mentioned with Alisson, that are struggling to score goals. goals at the moment under the new manager. I don't expect to bounce back straight away for Southampton. They might look better after the World Cup, but I don't think it will come straight away for them in game week 16. Now, Trent's numbers have been pretty poor so far this season. Only 38 points, 3.3 points per start with only 1 goal and 1 assist. And he's still 18.8% owned, but a lot of those, of course, are dead teams as he has fallen in price down to 7.2 million. If you had all the money in the world to be spending on a defender this week, surely it has to be Trent. Yes, he hasn't performed so far this season. Yes, Liverpool have not looked that great, but he has the potential to absolutely haul more than any other defender. Some of you might want to go for Ivan Perisic at Tottenham, but I don't expect him to play in such an advanced position, and I do think there's a good chance that Leeds score again in game week 16 against Spurs. So Trent for me is that premium option if you have all the money in the world to be buying a defender this week. Although he hasn't performed, it has to be Trent. Moving into midfield, starting off with my cheap option is Said Benrahma, 5.6 million, the same price, and actually cheaper now than Miguel Almiron at Newcastle. Predicted to score 3.4 points in game week 16, Leicester at home. Now, Leicester have been good defensively, but I did predict Benrahma to score in game week 15, and I'm going to predict that he scores again in game week 16. He has been their best player so far in the most recent weeks. Bowen has been falling off form. Some of the attackers have been pretty hit and miss. Paqueta coming back is necessarily a good thing for Benrahma's minutes, but I still think Benrahma will start given the form that he's shown. West Ham actually booed David Moyes when he took him off at the weekend. That's how good he's been and how poor the rest of the team has been. He's on some set pieces, scored a free kick so far this season. He's on penalties as well. 2 goals, 1 assist for him so far this season, 3.8 points per start over the course of this season. Again, he's only started 6 games, so those minutes have been a bit of a concern. With the amount of injuries they have, though, I am sure he's going to start this week. And then the more expensive midfield option is returning from injury in Dejan Kulusevski of Tottenham. 8 million and just 3.8% owned. Again, a home fixture in game week 16 at home to Leeds, a team that are conceding so many goals at the moment. Again, we spoke about Harry Kane at the beginning of the video. If you have the money in the bank to be going and buying Harry Kane in your team, outside of Erling Haaland, he is probably the number 1 option I'd like to have in my team this week. That I don't. Predicted to score 4.7 points in game week 16. This is in the top 5 for midfielders and just 8 million. You could definitely fit him into your team, I'm sure, this week. Hasn't started a lot of games this season because he has had that injury. Only 6 starts, but he has returned 5.2 points per start. 1 goal, 4 assists. Massive returns for him, particularly from that assist front. And we saw that in game week 15, his link up already with Harry Kane in that fixture. 4.7 points would be a pretty expected return, and I think he definitely has the ability to exceed that going into game week 16. Now, the rotation at the beginning of the season was a bit of concern, but with Son and Richarlison not going to feature for Tottenham in game week 16, it looks like Dejan Kulusevski is pretty nailed on to start. Now, of course, wait to see the amount of minutes he gets in the cup match in midweek. How many minutes does he start? Does he come off the bench to predict whether he's going to start the weekend? But I'm pretty confident with the results that Spurs have had recently, with the World Cup break coming up, that he is fine to start, and they need a result. Moving up front, again, if you have not liked the video already, please drop a like down below. We're going to aim for 1,000 likes on the video. Subscribe if you have not already. Next up is our cheap forward, is Solanke of Bournemouth. 3.9 predicted points at home to Everton. Everton, a team that look like they've lost their way in recent weeks, especially after losing 2-0 to Leicester in game week 15. 3 goals, 4 assists from his 11 starts, 4.6 points per start at just 5.7 million. Surely he has to be the cheap option we go for. Now, you could go as a bit of a differential to his teammate in Kiefer Moore, who looks like he's going to be playing more centrally, but Dominic Solanke is just so involved in everything they do. Maybe not scoring as many goals, but that assist potential is definitely there for him. Again, if you're needing that cheap option, there are a few others. Edouard looks like he's flagged at the moment. You could go Greenwood at Leeds, but then they have a difficult fixture this week. So Dominic Solanke is my cheap forward if you need one this week. And finally, we have our more premium forward, and that is Darwin Nunez of Liverpool. Predicted to score 5.5 points, which is very good for predicted points, which are always on the cautious side and don't really take into account how explosive a player could be. He's in the top 5 for predicted points for forwards as well. Southampton at home in game week 16. I've spoken a lot about Liverpool in this one. I do expect with their new system, the way they play that 4-3-1-2, Firmino, Salah, Nunez as that front three are really linking up well. 3 goals, 2 assists, and in that new system, I think Nunez could do really, really well. 3.3 points per start is not that great, but he is probably that 1 week punt. If you can't get all the way up to the likes of Harry Kane up front, then Darwin Nunez is next, and I think he's going to be very, very popular. A lot of you in the comment sections are asking about Darwin Nunez, whether I like him, and he is probably the one I wish I could afford going into this week. I can't get to him selling Callum Wilson, because if I could, there wouldn't be need for a team selection video or anything like that, because it would be so nailed on that he'd be the one that I would go and get. Even at 8.9 million, still under 10% owned. I expect that to rise before game week 16 with a good fixture, and I think he's capable of a big haul in this week. So those are my 7 transfer targets. We had a goalkeeper and a cheap and a premium option in defenders, midfielders and forwards. Let me know if you're buying any of these 7. Hopefully they can do as well as my ones did last week in the likes of Said Benrahma and Luke Shaw. Drop any questions you have about your team in the comment section down below. Please don't forget to like the video, aim for 1,000 likes, 38,000 subscribers as well. Good luck in game week 16 if I don't see you before then, but there will be a team selection video and a deadline stream, and then plenty of FPL content and World Cup content over the next month. I'm going nowhere, so hopefully you enjoy that. Got some fun things in store as well. Like and subscribe before you go. Good luck in game week 16, and I'll be back again very soon.